Gyllenhaal was dangerous, not only because I risked my heterosexuality and the possibility of my face freezing in a Roblox Square Prog maze by the end of the movie marathon, but also because billions of fangirls threatened me with a physical harm if I even said bad word about this actor. But honestly, watching movies with him was a pure enjoyment. Even during conception, he embarked on his journey in the film industry by luck, being born into a family of a director and a screenwriter in 1980s in Los Angeles. He has Swedish, English, Russian and Jewish roots, and even his father's distant ancestors had their own coat of arms. He considers himself Jewish, and at the age of 13 he went through the bar mitzvah ceremony in a homeless shelter, as insisted by his parents. From an early age he went to audition and tried to break into the film industry, but his parents prohibited him from taking on roles, even when he was approved for them, except for short episodic roles in his father's movies. In 1998 he enrolled in Columbia University, which his mother and his sister Maggie Gyllenhaal also attended. I'm sure you've seen her somewhere. He studied Eastern religion and philosophy at the university, but that was just a divert attention because after 2 years he dropped out and focused on acting. Interestingly, he almost got the role of Spider-Man in the Sam Raimi's movie, not in the first part but in second one, when Tobey Maguire injured his back severely and there was a risk that he couldn't continue filming. He's curious that he dated Kirsten Dunst for a while, and the story doesn't clarify whether it was a revenge on Maguire for not getting the Spider-Man role or simply because Kirsten Dunst mistook him for a Maguire. There is a popular belief that they look so alike that people even managed to confuse them. Based on his tale, a movie called Enemy about the two Gyllenhaals was even made. The title itself goes contempt towards Tobey Maguire, and as if it wasn't enough in the movie Brothers, where they both starred, Gyllenhaal almost stole Maguire's wife. When it comes to superhero roles, luck didn't seem to be on his side because he had a real chance to play Batman in Nolan's movie, but the role went to Christian Bale. And as a result, Gyllenhaal took Bale's sister Anne Hathaway. So be careful, don't mess with this guy. I could continue developing my crazy theories, but I don't want to give my imaginary therapist another reason to lock me up in a mental institution. City Slickers. Before becoming a kidnapper and mutant cannibal hunter from the underground, Daniel Stan spent a long time searching for himself. This version of him is a cattle driver. Those were spooky times with no internet, unfinished secret anime project about cat girls, and people from the 80s couldn't even afford the 80s release of Skyrim. So he had to come up with the ways of temporarily escaping the middle life crisis for a year or two, whether it was a deadly bullfight or a cold prostate massage with a shoulder deep penetration. Oh wait, that's the scene of the call. Birth. It is a heartwarming film about the friendship and aging from the director of another film about friendship, aging and graboids. Gyllenhaal is still in the stage of being an amiibo actor here and doesn't have a significant role in this film. The director of this film is Steven Gyllenhaal and his two children also appeared in it, or rather they made a brief appearance in a few scenes, those adding their early filmographics. It is a clever move in not so clever film about a socially maladjusted woman who loves smelling car seats and poking men with a sharpened keys at the slightest hint of misogyny. Josh and Sam. One of these movies that nobody knows about and nobody wants to know. A comedy about two brothers who go through tough times. Since all kids look all the same to me, I never understood which one is Gyllenhaal. But either way, replacing one child with another won't change much. The same thing was said by the midwife when she accidentally threw me into trash along with a placenta left over 30 years ago, according to my mother. Homegrown. The older Gyllenhaal cast the younger one for just one scene in the movie, and I can't blame him for that. Maybe without it, young Jake wouldn't have had enough status in the future to land roles in that film about the bubble boy and the one about the gay cowboys, brother-sisters. The film tells the story of three partners who are forced to take care of a plantation filled with something similar to marijuana. Sorry, I don't know what weed is, I grew up where there is an asphalt. They have to do it all by themselves because the person they worked for died from an ankle fracture while getting out of a helicopter. Potentially, such movie could have been a masterpiece in the hands of a Coen brother, or even Billy Bob Thornton managed to sneak into the cast. October Sky. The film from the director of Jumanji and The First Avenger is about young Gyllenhaal who finally lands in the lead role, can be considered his proper debut on the big screen. The film has a rating of 8 and deservedly so. The plot revolves around Jake Gyllenhaal as a schoolboy who is willing to do anything to avoid ending up as a generational minor in the middle of nowhere. His father, seeing him as a perfect candidate for anthracosis, begins teaching him the tricks of behaving in the mine, like not digging under yourself, always carrying a couple of torches, and never taking off your headphones while while you're in the mine. After all, one day it might save your life. But Gyllenhaal doesn't want to do that, saying something like,
"Screw you guys, I'm going home."
He leaves and decides to build a space rocket. The film is based on the true story of a very important NASA employee named Homer Hickam, and he succeeds in his endeavor. It is an inspiring film about friendship and dedication to one's passion. Highway. The movie is about two guys who are into drugs. One of them has erectile dysfunction and the other has never reached climax. Now that's a drama. To solve these and other problems, they decided to escape to Seattle. Along the way, they meet a food fetishist, kleptomanic prostitute and doctor named Cox, who is at the peak of his wild youth. He may not have a direct connection to medicine, but he sure has direction to Cox. That's the story. Donnie Darko. The tangential universe brought Maggie and Jake Gyllenhaal together in a movie, and thank goodness they tuned into the different people from parallel universe. Otherwise, there's a high chance of the whole universe would collapse, and I would be left craving beach photos of Drew Barrymore from the 2000s. Understanding Donnie Darko is already a challenge, and if you are watching the castrated version and know nothing about the philosophy of the time travel, just forget it. Go and watch American version of Oldboy again. I don't like Oldboy remake. But I love Donnie Darko because he's literally a schizophrenic superhero maniac. It couldn't help and captivated me, even as a 14-year-old girl, and also because he Jake Gyllenhaal for the same reason. Well, seriously, in my life I tried 3 times to watch Donnie Darko, and every time I gave up after 5 minutes and labeled to the fans of this movie as posers. Then I went to watch Married with the Children. Over the years I didn't stop watching Married with the Children, but finally I managed to watch Donnie Darko till the end, and I honestly say it's blew my mind. Often the movie criticized for having many plots, holes, mistakes and character behaving irrationally, but the thing is, it's all intentional because according to the author concept, it is the will of God. The spaghetti demiurge or the babyface universe travel Leslie Nielsen. Despite that, the fact remains that the creator of the film explicitly stated the divine invention in this blame for everything. That's why some characters in this parallel universe are up to illogically to guide Donnie Darko towards his destiny. After movies like Donnie Darko, life somehow becomes easier. I've read several reviews and some people just like me say that after the movie a certain feeling calm sets in this amazing film. Lovely and amazing. A comedy melodrama about women of different ages, skin color, weight, size and intellectual coefficient, who are nevertheless united by family ties. And there is one Jake Gyllenhaal who attracted to older ladies, but he's here one moment and then he's gone. You could blink accidentally and he disappeared. Bubble Boy. Why don't they make movies about the guys in the bubbles anymore? About malicious, juvenile, red-haired sociopath about fools in space? Oh, wait, there was a movie with Ryan Reynolds and Gyllenhaal. But seriously, where is the new Rocketman or Major Payne? Why have we deprived ourselves of dumb comedies from 2000s? Why isn't there another movie where a guy inside a bubble harasses Zach Galifianakis until he's accidentally kidnapped by a passing cultist, while the villainous Danny Trejo threatens dismemberment? And at the same time, Vern Troyer tries to seduce Gyllenhaal's mom while attempting to retrieve his escaped freak show. I often came across this movie on TV during my childhood and watched it multiple times. And probably thanks to the film I realized how important it is sometimes to step out of your comfort zone and how damn excited I get about freaking balloons. The good girl. Gyllenhaal continues to seduce older women and no one dares to condemn it for him. After all, he even got touched Jennifer Aniston, so we can only cheerful watching all this unfold. But don't despair, my little cuckolds. I invite you to join a masturbation session that will begin... Oh my god, I need a girlfriend. He has a supporting role here, playing an enthusiastic suicidal youth who writes poems about how everything bad and how he wants to cut himself if he's not understood. Also, you would think if you work in the same store as Zoe Deschanel and Jennifer Aniston, you have no more rights to complain, you little brat. Especially to the main female character who just wants to be a little happier, but in the eyes of everyone around her she's just a slut who got knocked by the god knows who, suffering her marriage and barely holds herself back from jumping off a roof. Moonlight Mile, a classic melodrama from 2000s where there's him, her, his dead girlfriend, and where the melodramatic moments are interspersed with a vomiting dog. The Day After Tomorrow. This is what happened when, instead of using one basic freshener and second finishing spray, you create a third one just to defy everyone. You are harming Mother Nature, depleting the ozone layer. Maybe you're even doing it right now watching this video while sitting on the toilet. I urge you to give up on the freshener and take deeper breaths to return the gases you've emitted back into your body, because they also impact the environment. Today you spray the freshener 3 times, tomorrow you engage the eco-terrorism by launching fart drones into the upper layers of the atmosphere. And the day after tomorrow, the entire humanity and one little Jake Gyllenhaal will have to pay the price. Jiminy Glick in Lalawood. What? Well, who the fuck is it? Goddamn, screw it. Proof. The first film I remember that features an awesome mathematical montage. This time Gyllenhaal tries to win over a woman his own age, but it won't be long before he moves to the teenagers. But there is one catch: she has a crazy Anthony Hopkins living in her head, who in his lifetime tried to mathematically prove the beneficial impact of Netflix shows on the growth of a malignant tumors in my head. Brokeback Mountain. In the country where I live, murder let's say, such relationships as portrayed in the film are not well received, and honestly I also believe that Gyllenhaal made a mistake getting involved with Anne Hathaway because he was born in December, which means he has a Sagittarius, and she, one way or another, is and remains a woman. They simply aren't meant to be together. Unlike those films that have come out in the past 5 years on a similar theme, at least he maintains a superb level of acting and keeps the bar high of decent drama. I'm sure that about 90% of the haters of this film are members of a secret lobby of latent women who simply couldn't come to terms with losing 2 men to a honest fate. Jahid. It's a sad story of a guy who dreamed of becoming a trumpet player, but he didn't have money for a trumpet, so he decided to join the army, hoping they would let him play there. But unfortunately, it's not the 19th century anymore, so he couldn't even become a trumpet player in the cavalry. Disappointed with his life, the poor guy starts losing his mind. Maybe they should have called Tobey Maguire for this role, he seems to look calmer. Oh, well, forget it. In reality, it's not the worst film about the Gulf War. Besides the memorable scenes, great music and actors, it has a pretty ironic plot about how they turned poor souls into the bloodthirsty and violent dogs, but in the fact they had nothing to do throughout the whole film, and the only bullet that hit in the target was fired right at the beginning during the training, right into the recruit's head. Zodiac. Fincher film about one of the most enigmatic psychopaths in human history, about Robert Downey Jr. Well, who else but a complete psycho would agree to play an Iron Man for $500,000? You can't even hire 1,000 prostitutes with that money to smear them with your black caviar and mayonnaise. What kind of cult actor status can you talk about if you don't have enough money to entertain yourself in such way? For the film's shooting, Fincher gave Gyllenhaal a doll and a diaper from the 80s. Why did he give him that if, according to the plot, Gyllenhaal's character's son is old enough not to wear diapers and not feminine enough to play with the dolls? It remains one of the most mysterious puzzles in human history to this day. Rendition. A film on a topic familiar to each of us, as at least once of our lives we've all been abducted by American intelligence agencies at the airport. Then, under torture in a secret prison, they tried to extract the convention terrorism from you. But ultimately, they released you, taking a commitment from you to be a writer and have a kinder face in the future. A film about a rare condition called post-traumatic stress disorder that affects actors who played Spider-Man, occurring in 2 out of the cases. To my shame, I've hardly seen any movies with Maguire other than the Spider-Man ones, so it was quite unexpected to see him in the role of tough, cold warrior with a burst of uncontrollable anger. This film is about a convict who takes responsibility for the family of his deceased brother in Afghanistan. Interestingly, during this film, Gyllenhaal learned about the death of his close friend, Heath Ledger, which caused him to unable to participate in the shot several days. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. A documentary chronicle about ancient English people who migrated from Egypt to colonize the territories of present-day Iran, formerly Persia. However, unfortunately, as the locals couldn't be insisted with a love for cricket, fish and chips, or even Austin Power, a local conflict emerged involving Ben Kingsley as a Persian throne usurper, a rock and roll performer, a hedgehog man from X-Men, Aladdin as played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and Orochimaru as a zombie Nazi assassin. You might say you are talking nonsense again, but I'll tell you that the film as a cinematic adaptation of a cult game, not so good as it could to be. Love and Other Drugs. Ancient legends say that 1 out of 10 romantic comedies isn't a crap. I had a hard time believing it myself, but as proof in the movie at the 22 minutes mark, there is one booba of Anne Hathaway. And just to completely dispel your skepticism, at the 32 minutes mark, they show 2 boobs already. So in total we have 3 boobs of Anne Hathaway, one charming Gyllenhaal playing a guy who in reality was a Viagra sales representation, and a moderately tear-jerking drama about a girl with Parkinson's. Source code. After watching many movies, I increasingly fail to understand people who constantly try to downgrade the ratings of a good film through the most outrageous reviews, where they spit out a spit and get outraged about accuracy of the depicted science fiction on the screen. Oh, apologize, but parabolic calculation regarding the tangential universe to directly contracting the quantum Corn's constant. It's even hypothetically impossible to imagine that in time-looped parallel universe, Jake Gyllenhaal wouldn't have out having an 8-minute sex encounter with Michelle Monaghan in a toilet stall. You see, they only has 8 minutes before the bomb explodes. Unfortunately, it takes him 9 minutes to simply pull the stop lever and prolong the process searching the terrorist while satisfying Michelle Monaghan. I don't know, sometimes it just annoys me when people ignore all the facts and talk crap about a film for a wannabe scientific reasons. Well, yeah, it's pissing me off and I'm venting it out on you through the YouTube video. What are you going to do about it, huh? Can you punch me through the monitor? I thought so. End of watch. As I have said before, David Ayer knows how to direct and write scripts for cool movies about tough guys in dangerous situations. Not always, of course, but he knows his stuff. Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Piena, by the way, it's his first essentially leading role. They spend almost half a year, 3 times a week, going on 12-hour rides with the police officers, and it just so happened that it's on his first outing. Gyllenhaal witnessed the killing of some drug dealer. The movie is about 2 close friends who are patrol cops about a very small operator who documents their work and personal lives. Sometimes he hops on the shoulder of one of the heroes, creating the first-person perspective effect. Can I say that? Anyway, it may seem like a fairly simple plot, but combined with the camera work, somehow it turns into a powerful drama that even touches you at heart a little at the end. That's David Ayer, he always has the same plot twist at the end of the movie. Accidental love. That was really needs to be nitpickled. After a series of great and decent movies, how did he manage to get himself into such a piece of shit? During the dinner at the restaurant, a nail accidentally gets hammered into the head of the Cyclops girl from the X-Men. It's quite common situation. However, since only Donald Trump can afford healthcare in America, the unfortunate girl gets kicked out of the operating room. She decides to seek support from a young senator who needs a sex cripple on his team to gain popularity and satisfy his personal needs. I have come across such movies several times, and each time it has been all real challenge for my extra chromosome and my butt. The entire movie is shot from different angles, constantly changing, so if you decide to watch it, make sure to fix your head in a place. Prisoners. This movie has some strange thing going on. Initially, Mark Wahlberg was supposed to play Jackman's role, and in the movie Lovely Bones should have been played by Jackman, not Wahlberg. Also, Christian Bale was supposed to play instead of Gyllenhaal, and instead of Denis Villeneuve, Anthony Fuqua was listed as the director for a long time ago, who in turn will be later directed 2 movies with Gyllenhaal. Well, who cares anyway? The movie is about how Jake Gyllenhaal wasn't hired to work in a restaurant because of his tattoos, so he decided to join the police. But honestly, it's clear that the role wasn't quite fitting for him. But it's not even a complaint, just Hugh Jackman portrayed a crazy man convincingly that it made me feel so uncomfortable. Well, I would like to see how Wolverine tortures you for being Paul Dana and for having suspicious face in every movie. That's the essence of the movie. If you have a villainous face, you are definitely a rapist, kidnapper, sadist, coprophile, and considering everything else, most likely a fan of a new school rap. Enemy. One more phobia to add to the collection. No, it's not a fear of skyscraper-sized spiders or even a fear of infernal doppelganger. No, I'm afraid of Denis Villeneuve. And that at the end of watching another film, it would turn out to be all past irony. It's good to say that creators of the film had enough money for not just 1 but 2 Gyllenhaals, but I must say that one of the head is enough here. As a film essentially an art house where there are far more questions asked than answered, there is that's a thing but you don't want to pay attention to it and it will go away by its own. There are 2 Gyllenhaals, occasionally someone's fucking, and in the last 3 seconds of the film everything is turned upside down and you realize you have been fucked right in the skull. But I'm not really against it because I like Villeneuve. Gyllenhaal thrillers with their involvement and watching people suffering from deep meaning syndrome, like a hungry old man sucking the bone marrow out of the chicken bone, trying to squeeze out all the intricate implantation from thin air. Nightcrawler. Regarding Nightcrawler, I will be completely biased and overly enthusiastic because it's my favorite film in this involvement and one of my favorite films overall. He's not the anti-hero who will evoke sympathy from you. You probably won't wish him for transform for something kinder and more positive. You won't wish for him find love or a peaceful life. Maybe you would like him to become normal, like all of us. But deep down you will understand that it's pure symbol of ruthless opportunism will surpass you in every way. He doesn't need breaks on his path to success. He is cunning, and when necessary he plays a game of hypocrisy at the unreachable level for the ordinary mortals. He's so true to himself that feels no barriers in achieving in his goals and no remorse. Yes, he's a jerk, yes, he is an asshole, and society would be better without such people. Well, maybe not. I'm sure if Louis Bloom were a Nightcrawler but a politician driven by his selfish aims, he would make the lives of thousands millions of people better if necessary. Demolition. Stop making me cry, you jerk! After the Gulf War, Gyllenhaal became the son-in-law of Chris Cooper, and in order to curb his thirst for violence, he joined Cooper's company to make money on even bigger sums. He even married Cooper's daughter, but here's the trouble. A drunk driver crashes into their car and, joking aside, this is probably my second favorite film with Gyllenhaal, and the second film I've watched from the director Dean Mark Valley. Gyllenhaal's wife dies in the car accident, and instead of grieving with everyone else, he becomes more outraged by the fact that he can't buy a pack of candies in the hospital, where his wife's body is in the morgue, leading him bombard customer support letters from the vending machine company. The film clearly exhibits a European approach to shooting dramas, making it feel like quite artificial but unlike European dramas. It's shot with so much higher quality and is not so pretentiously gloomy. It is a silly comparison, but the main character feels like the Joker who converted his worst day not into the madness and violence, but into the light madness, kindness and freedom by ceasing to waste himself on adhering to society etiquette. It's an excellent film about the ambiguity of the human soul, about being honestly with oneself and others. Such films are sorely lacking in our time, and deeply regret that it didn't do well at the box office and that director passed away at the age of 59, depriving us of similar works. Southpaw. Originally, Ryan Gosling was considered for this role, but on his way to the film location in Pennsylvania, he got a little lost and ended up in the boxing gym in Bangkok, where he was beaten to near death by a janitor. Also, initially it was supposed to be a sequel to 8 Mile, and Eminem was supposed to play the lead role. However, the members of the secret government of Earth decided that having 2 rappers in one film could provoke the collapse, and the film would either be extremely successful or cringe. So they decided to not take the risk and called upon Gyllenhaal for the lead role, who is damn good. The film falls into the category good sports dramas, but nothing more. It has everything you've seen in dozens of similar movies. Everest. Unfortunately, the film is based on a true story about people who died in Everest, and ironically the least charismatic among them managed to survive. Nocturnal Animals. Great start to the movie, thank you so much. It's already captivating from the first scenes. Wow, what a piece of shit! I love movies where the first scenes featuring dancing naked chubby women wearing the cavalry hats at the contemporary art exhibition. It's not just a scream, it's a hysterical outcry. Beware, pleb, I directed this masterpiece. In the end, he definitely made a mess of it. But the money spent on promoting this film will convince everyone otherwise. Here the gist. Amy Adams, while she was secretly sleeping, had the scenes from Arrival stolen from the set, and under the pretext of shooting flashback scenes from the future, they told her to act. Without a script, which is why she has the same clueless expression on her face throughout the entire film. Jake Gyllenhaal plays her ex-husband, who embodies himself in a novel written after they break up and suggests meeting with her on the last time. But after she reads a novel in which the metaphorical wife and daughter of Gyllenhaal are kidnapped and killed by a metaphorical kick-ass that metaphorically taking shit in nature, Michael Shannon metaphorically comes to Gyllenhaal aids restore justice. Stronger. It's not the best drama based on real events about a disabled person, specifically about Jeff Bowman, who lost his leg during the Boston Marathon bombing. If it wasn't for Gyllenhaal, nobody would have watched the film, or maybe nobody would have finished watching it, because there wasn't too much to see. They wanted to show the human drama as it in reality, but they missed out all good things that could have been shown and, for some reason, exaggerated all the bad things. In the end, it turned out to be a film about a lazy cripple surrounded by stupid and greedy fools who never even stopped to think. Okay. Combine Netflix with an overrated South Korean director who can't make the decent film but loves to flirt with American audience by clumsily incorporating Asian aesthetics into American storytelling, and you will get a money-hungry formulating film that explodes the scene of pity. Don't get me wrong, I like his Snowpiercer and Parasite was okay overall, but everyone knows that film is highly overrated, and this one is even worse. It's like it was made for little kids except it's rated 16+. All those feeble scenes aimed at the children just don't work on the audience saturated with such films. Dead parents, chubby orphan, cute farting creatures, so cutesy. And I can't even see that you are lying to me. Paul Dano is a sweetheart. Oh wait, he's crazy again. With a budget of 50 million, the film only made 2, not because it's a fake as your mama's boobs. Sorry, I apologize. It's because those damned corporate cannibals burnt every copy of this film in the praise of Orgalorg. Life. If there wasn't weird choppy editing, if they had given a bit more information about the main characters, and if the alien wasn't so graphic cringy, theoretically it could have been a pretty good film in the spirit of the first Alien, but I love the film for 3 reasons. Jake Gyllenhaal, the brutal murder of Ryan Reynolds, and Rebecca Ferguson, who has recently become my waifu. If you have problem with it, I challenge you on Mortal Kombat. Wildlife. Paul Dano's directional debut, and as always, the genre for a debut film becomes a drama, melodrama about relationship troubles in a classic family, with a miserable teenager at the end who forced to grow up quickly to save the family upon seeing the wrinkled buttocks of his mother's elderly lover. 6 out of 10. The Sisters Brothers. It's so unclear what genre this film belongs to. It seems like it should be a western, but something feels incomplete about it. There is occasional comedic moments, but it's not a comedy. It falls short as an action movie too. There isn't so much emphasis on the family theme, and it's not exactly an adventure film either. The movie touched on various themes, but by beat, making it difficult to give a definitive rating to the end. It's just okay. It's like watching an episode of a TV series in the middle of the season. There are 2 bounty hunters, gold prospectors they have to kill, and Jake Gyllenhaal who is supposed to help them but switches the sides at the last moment. Overall, it's weird out of 10. Spider-Man Far From Home. It's not good as is the first film, but it's not as terrible as the third. Personally, I find it amusing to sit and dissect Marvel movies, discussing what I like and I don't like. What's really interesting to understand is how director John Watts got the opportunity to make 3 highly successful blockbusters films, when his previous work included a movie that made only $140,000 about Kevin Bacon shooting at dwarves who don't like children at all, and a film about the clown that eats children. By the way, I don't recall him to asking for my permission to adapt my autobiographical memories into the movie. Velvet Buzzsaw. Once again, the screenwriter and director is Dan Gilroy, but unlike Nightcrawler, it's hard to call this creation even remotely good. It is supposed to be a horror film about artists and traders in the contemporary art, but the only horror here is the artists and other art figures are overly pretentious and more annoying than attract any sympathy. Mr. Bisexual Gyllenhaal can't figure out throughout half of the film who's he like more, Barbados Lim or Donna Tubbs. Choose Malkovich and run away from the movie before it's too late. Unfortunately, Viggo von Hamburg-Dushendorf from the second part of Ghostbusters is not pleased with the level of modern horror films and resorts to local slaughter using ghostly sorcery. Just so you know, there are no Velvet Buzzsaw in the movie. It's just an attempt to clickbait you. The Guilty. The Guilty is a remake of a Danish film with the same name. It's about an emergency call operator who tries to help a kidnapped girl who has only a phone at his disposal. The film features prominent actors like Peter Sarsgaard, Ethan Hawke, Bill Burr, and Paul Dano, but the funny thing is that throughout the entire movie except a couple of scenes, it's only Jake Gyllenhaal in the frame. The film is decent, but the call with the Halle Berry was better. At least there, Abigail Breslin threatened to cut off someone's head, but toward the end you realize that locked in a small room and then locked in an even tighter toilet booth, Jake Gyllenhaal managed to take you throughout a whole range of emotions. I don't want to sing excessive praises to him, but come on guys, as a bonus we have director Anthony Fuqua and Nick Pizzolatto as a screenwriter. Ambulance. I don't know for sure, but I heard rumor that the film is a government order taken on Michael Bay to identify people with the strongest vestibular apparatus. Everyone who watched this film in the theater was given a barf box at the entrance, and those who had the least filled bags at the end of the screening were recruited by NASA for a program on resettling on other planets. Unfortunately, the candidates were never identified because the problem was caused by bad acting. Jake Gyllenhaal's role has a classic for the 2020s, a crazy white jerk who wants to ruin everyone's life life, rob banks, steal ambulances, shoot at the police officers, and based on these scenes apparently sexually humiliate them too. Well, just another routine day of the GTA character. That's all my dudes. Subscribe the channel, don't forget to press like button, write your comments, and just have a nice week. Be happy, see you.